Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan, and I'm going to tell you if this game is worth your time and bandwidth. Today's game is Gloomhaven. The hit board game is now a video game, as most board games seem to end up as these days. Is this conversion worth checking out, or is it better left on the table? Gloomhaven is currently only available on PC, but should be coming to consoles sometime in 2023. Its MSRP is $35, and this game is very long. To beat the main campaign will take you at least 100 hours, and there's an entire secondary campaign as DLC. So what exactly is Gloomhaven? Well, it is, as mentioned in the intro, an adaptation of the hit board game, which I'm going to note at the start, I have played through in its entirety in a 3-player party. The game is a dungeon crawler with some light RPG elements on the side. Essentially, you'll create a party from an ever-growing roster of mercenaries, then send them into a dungeon for initiative and turn-based murder. Gloomhaven ultimately is a deck-based game with only a light amount of deck building. Each character has a hand limit, and you'll build said hand from available cards. Each card has both a top and a bottom half, as well as an initiative number. At the start of every round, each player character will pick 2 cards. After all the characters are selected, the enemies pull from a predetermined set of moves and initiatives, and you're off. On each character's turn, you'll use the top half of one card and the bottom half of the other to execute commands in any order. Usually top halves are attacks and bottoms are movement, though that's not always the case. After executing their commands, the cards are either discarded or burned. Cards with burn abilities are much stronger, but a burned card cannot be recovered that dungeon. Then you continue to the next character or enemy. You have full visibility on what the enemies are going to do, meaning you need to be strategic around their responses, particularly because this game is actually pretty difficult. At the end of each round, you pick 2 more cards per character and go again. Once a character is out of a hand of cards, you can either short or long rest, with either putting your discard back into your hand while burning one of your discarded cards. As you can imagine, this means your hand and options decrease as the dungeon goes on, putting each character on a timer before they exhaust. And if a character runs out of cards or their hit points hit 0, they are exhausted and removed from the dungeon. If your whole party exhausts, you fail and have to try again. Outside of dungeons, you'll use your XP to level up and money to buy gear. Doing quests unlocks further quest lines, and you can always replay quests should you wish. It's really worth pointing out that unlike most video games, leveling is very slow in this game, as is currency generation, so don't expect your characters to power up quickly. Each character also has personal quests they want to accomplish, and when they do finish it and you return to Gloomhaven, they will leave your party forever. This is how you unlock new characters and classes, however, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. And lastly, this game has drop-in, drop-out multiplayer, and since the game scales to your party's average, anyone you know can switch in and out at any time. So all in all, Gloomhaven is a highly tactical and difficult turn-based dungeon crawler RPG with a plethora of mechanics I didn't even cover, but I don't want this video to be too long. So what do I like about Gloomhaven? Well, it has some incredible tactical depth paired with the game's high difficulty, which means that you'll become a master of each character you control by the time you retire them. Additionally, the variety of classes and builds is astounding, with dozens to unlock behind the starting crew, all of them playing very uniquely, and the late game ability to augment abilities and tweak characters as you like scratches that let's figure out how to break the game itch. And lastly, this is a great conversion of one of the best board games ever, with solid visuals, UI tutorials, and all the content of both the base game and Jaws of the Lion as DLC. Since it automates all of the obnoxiousness of the board game, it's probably the best way to actually play it unless you love minis. When it comes to the bad, as it is a board game conversion, this game feels very slow compared to the video games of the same ilk. Turns are long and require a lot of thought, and I never had a mission that took less than 20 minutes, even the starting ones. Additionally, as mentioned, the game is very hard, mostly early on, and paired with the slow gameplay might frustrate some newcomers. Oddly enough, it does get easier as it goes along, as your options increase, but still. And lastly, Gloomhaven has a massive breadth of mechanics, which are more digestible in video game form, but are still incredibly overwhelming to a beginner, as the game doesn't have any like tutorial missions, it just kind of throws you into it. As you know, I rate games here on a 3-point scale: must play, maybe consider, don't bother, and I do think Gloomhaven is a must play. If you're a fan of complex board games, tactical games, or what are essentially massive puzzle battles, Gloomhaven will blow you away. While its slower pace and higher difficulty might turn off video game only tacticians, those who persevere will find one of the finest tactical deck building board games ever created. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you played Gloomhaven, board game or otherwise, what do you think about it? Let me know in the comments. Regardless, go out there and check this one out.